Welcome to our channel HD Rare Coin111, your go-to spot for uncovering the incredible world of rare US coins. If you've ever wondered if your old pennies, nickels, or dimes are worth more than face value, you're about to find out. In today's video, we'll be exploring some truly rare coins and their shocking values. And if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. So let's jump in. Top 1. Have you ever wondered if that little penny in your pocket could actually be worth a fortune? You see, some of the most valuable treasures in the world don't sparkle with diamonds or shine with gold. Sometimes they come in the smallest, most overlooked forms, like a copper penny that's been sitting unnoticed in a change jar for decades. But make no mistake, not all pennies are created equal. Today, we're going deep into the world of coin collecting to uncover the stunning story of the 1966 Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that might look ordinary, but has shocked collectors with its hidden secrets and incredible value. This isn't just about a penny. This is about how a piece of American history, struck during a time of national change, could hold life-changing wealth. Let's go back in time to understand why the 1966 Lincoln penny is so special. In the mid-1960s, the United States Mint was under pressure. Just 2 years earlier, in 1964, a nationwide coin shortage had thrown the economy into a panic. Silver coins were vanishing from circulation as the price of silver rose, and people began hoarding them. The mint needed to act fast. So, in 1965, a bold decision was made. Silver would be removed from most U.S. coins, and mint marks, those tiny letters that tell us where a coin was made, would temporarily be eliminated from all coinage. That's right. In 1966, no U.S. coin carried a mint mark, not even the humble penny. Why? The mint wanted to discourage people from hoarding coins from certain locations. They believed removing mint marks would help stabilize the public's trust in circulating currency. But as with many things in history, the unexpected happened, because while 1966 was supposed to be a year of uniformity, it ended up being one of the most curious and valuable years in U.S. penny history. Let's take a closer look at the design. The obverse side, the front, features the iconic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. It's a design that first appeared in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Above his head is the word liberty, to the left is "In God We Trust," and to the right, the year, 1966. On the reverse side, you'll find the classic Lincoln Memorial, a design that began in 1959 to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday. If you look closely, you can even see the tiny statue of Lincoln sitting inside the memorial. An incredible detail for such a small coin. The inscriptions read, United States of America, e pluribus unum, and of course, the denomination, 1 cent. Now, at first glance, this coin may not look like anything more than a typical penny. But what makes some 1966 Lincoln cents extremely valuable comes down to 3 key things: errors, rarity, and condition. Let's break it down. First, let's talk about errors. These are mistakes made during the minting process. And in 1966, some very strange and very rare errors made it past the mint's quality control point. One of the most sought-after errors is the double die obverse. This means that the design was stamped twice on the same coin, but not in perfect alignment. The result? A doubling effect on the date, the word liberty, or in God we trust. It may be subtle, but under magnification, the doubling becomes obvious, and collectors go wild for it. Another rare error from 1966 is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin blank, called a planchet, is not perfectly centered during the striking process. Some coins are struck with 5%, 10%, even 30% of the design missing. The rarer the misalignment, and the more visible the date, the higher the value. There are also die cracks, tiny raised lines on the coin caused by a cracked die, and clipped planchets, where a chunk of the coin is literally missing. These oddities, while technically flaws, are actually like golden tickets to serious collectors. But what takes a 1966 penny from interesting to extraordinary is when these errors are paired with exceptional condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect, flawless example. Most pennies in circulation are well worn, scratched, and dulled from decades of use. But a few lucky coins have been carefully preserved, untouched, unhandled, and sealed away for years. These coins, known as mint state, MS pennies, are the crown jewels of collecting. A 1966 Lincoln penny graded MS 67 or higher, especially with a rare error like a doubled die, is considered incredibly rare. They're not just worth a few bucks, they're worth thousands. Now, let's talk rarity. In 1966, over 2 billion Lincoln cents were produced. But here's the catch: only a tiny handful have survived with the kind of perfection, rarity, and error combinations that serious collectors crave. That's what makes this next part so unbelievable. Because one of these elusive 1966 pennies, flawless, fiery in color, struck with a rare die variety, surfaced not long ago in a private collection. After being submitted for authentication and grading, it came back with near-perfect marks. The coin world took notice. Collectors from across the country wanted a shot at owning this once-in-a-lifetime find. The bidding war began quietly, but soon exploded. Coin dealers, private investors, museums, everyone wanted it. And when the dust settled, this single penny, this tiny copper coin no bigger than your fingertip, sold for a price that left the entire auction room speechless. That 1966 Lincoln penny sold for exactly $187,000. Yes. $187,000 for a penny. So the next time you see a penny lying on the ground, pick it up. When you're rolling coins to cash in, don't rush. Look closely. Because sometimes, the smallest things in life can carry the biggest value, and you never know what treasure might be hiding in plain sight. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And comment below, have you ever come across a strange-looking penny? It just might be worth more than you think. Until next time, keep hunting, keep collecting, and never underestimate the power of a single cent. Top 2. Every now and then, something tiny, something so ordinary, so common, so overlooked, ends up hiding a secret that can rewrite your fortune. And today, you're going to hear about one of those secrets. It's been sitting in pockets, drawers, coin jars, and forgotten change piles for over half a century. A coin that most people spend without thinking twice. A coin so humble, yet so incredibly valuable, that it left even expert collectors stunned. I'm talking about the 1968 Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that's not just old, but in some cases, extraordinarily rare, deeply historical, and, under the right conditions, worth more than a luxury car. Or even a house. Let's take a journey through time and uncover how this simple penny became one of the most talked about and sought after coins in the world of American numismatics. The year is 1968. America is in a state of transformation. Martin Luther King Jr. has just been assassinated. The Vietnam War protests are raging. The world is watching Apollo astronauts prepare for their moon mission. Amidst all this turbulence and change, the U.S. Mint quietly produces millions of Lincoln pennies, unaware that a small number of them will someday become legends. Now, most of the 1968 Lincoln cents look just like every other penny. On the obverse, or front side, you'll find the familiar image of President Abraham Lincoln, facing right. The design, created by Victor David Brenner, has been in place since 1909, marking Lincoln's 100th birthday. Above his head, the words "I in God we trust." On the left, liberty. And to the right, the year, 1968. But here's where things get very interesting. Unlike the previous years when mint marks were temporarily removed, 1968 saw the return of mint marks, identifying where the coin was made. You'll find small letters under the year, either a D for the Denver Mint or an S for the San Francisco Mint. And of course, no letter at all means it was minted in Philadelphia. But here's the twist: not all 1968 pennies were created equally. Some of them, just a tiny handful, were struck with errors so rare, so unique, that their value today is absolutely mind-blowing. But it's not just errors that collectors are after. It's also about flawless condition, limited production quirks, and the mysterious story behind a small batch of coins that slipped through the mint's fingers unlike any other. Let's dive into what makes the 1968 penny so incredibly collectible. First, there's one particular error that has become legendary in the coin world: the 1968's double die obverse. Yes. The San Francisco Mint accidentally created a small batch of coins in which the die, the metal stamp used to press the coin, was engraved twice, but slightly misaligned. This results in noticeable doubling on the front of the coin, particularly on the inscriptions like Liberty, the date, and I in God We Trust. You don't need to be an expert to see the doubling. In fact, with a decent magnifying glass or even a smartphone zoom, you can often spot the irregularities. But here's the thing: only a few of these double-die pennies are known to exist. They are the holy grail of 1968 penny errors. Next, we have the off-center strikes. These occur when the penny blank, called a planchet, isn't properly aligned when struck. You might see part of the coin missing or shifted dramatically to one side. If the date is still visible and the misalignment is large, collectors will pay big money for it. Then there are die cracks, cuds, and struck-through errors, all of which involve imperfections during the minting process. A die crack might look like a lightning bolt running across Lincoln's face. A cud will appear as a big blob of metal where part of the coin design is missing. These aren't flaws, they're rare fingerprints of the machinery, and collectors absolutely love them. Now, let's talk about condition, something that's just as important as the error itself. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale. Anything above MS 65 is considered premium quality. MS stands for mint state, meaning the coin has never been in circulation and is in its original, untouched condition. While billions of 1968 pennies were made, only a microscopic number have survived in MS 67 or MS 68 condition, and even fewer with a confirmed error like the double die obverse. When a coin has both a rare error and a high-grade condition, it becomes something else entirely. Not just a collectible, but a once-in-a-lifetime piece of American history. These coins get certified and slabbed by top grading companies like PCGS or NGC, and they become centerpieces of elite collections. One such coin, a 1968's Lincoln penny with a sharply visible double die, preserved in near-perfect mint state condition, stunned the coin collecting world when it hit the auction block. It had everything: a clear error, immaculate color and luster. Not a single fingerprint or scratch, and authentication from one of the top grading services in the world. Bidding opened fast. And in just minutes, collectors, dealers, and investors drove the price higher and higher. By the end of the auction, the final price left jaws on the floor. That tiny 1-cent coin, born in 1968, sold for an unbelievable total of $177,000. Yes. You heard that right. $177,000 for a penny that could have easily gone unnoticed in a roll of pocket change. So the next time you find a penny on the ground or open a roll from the bank, don't dismiss it. Look a little closer. You never know when that humble little coin might turn out to be a treasure hiding in plain sight. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story and want more deep dives into rare and valuable coins, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with your fellow collectors or curious friends. Drop a comment if you've ever found a strange or unusual penny. We might feature it in a future video. And remember, in the world of coins, even a single cent can change your life. Top 3. How many times have you passed over a penny? Dropped one without caring to pick it up? Or tossed a handful into a jar thinking, it's just 1 cent? Well, today, I'm about to show you how one of those little copper coins, a coin you might have spent on a piece of gum, could actually be hiding a life-changing secret. This isn't fiction. This is fact. Some pennies minted in the United States, under rare and special conditions, are now worth more than luxury cars, designer jewelry, even entire homes. And today, we're going to explore one of the most intriguing and overlooked coins in modern American history, the 1975 Lincoln 1-cent penny. Now, at first glance, the 1975 penny might not look like anything extraordinary. It's small, reddish-brown, maybe a little dull from years of circulation. But under the surface lies a story of minting mysteries, historic transitions, and collector obsessions that have turned some of these simple coins into six-figure treasures. Let's rewind to 1975, a year of reflection and preparation in the United States. The Vietnam War was drawing to a close. Americans were still grappling with the aftermath of the Watergate scandal. And quietly, behind the scenes, the U.S. Mint was preparing for one of the biggest events in coinage history, the American Bicentennial, coming in 1976. But in the middle of all that anticipation and national change, the Mint continued producing everyday coins, including, of course, the humble Lincoln penny. The Lincoln 1-cent coin had already been a fixture of American pockets for more than 65 years by then. Designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909, the coin features the proud and resolute face of President Abraham Lincoln. On the obverse, or front, of the 1975 penny, you'll find his profile facing right, the word liberty to the left, "In God We Trust" arched above, and the date, 1975, to the right. Now here's where it gets interesting. By 1975, most Lincoln cents were still made primarily from 95% copper, with a balance of zinc. These pre-1982 pennies are slightly heavier than their modern counterparts, and have a beautiful coppery tone. But what makes certain 1975 pennies exceptionally rare and highly valuable are the eras and the conditions under which they were minted. Let's break that down. First, the mints. In 1975, Lincoln cents were produced at 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, marked with AD; San Francisco, marked with an S for proof coins. The majority of pennies came from Philadelphia and Denver. But the San Francisco Mint produced proof coins, mirror-like, high-detail versions intended for collectors. But here's where things take a sharp turn toward the fascinating. A small number of 1975 pennies, just a handful, escaped the mint with dramatic and highly collectible errors. These are not ordinary flaws. These are rare minting mistakes that transformed a 1-cent coin into a rare artifact worth thousands. Let's talk about the most valuable types of errors. 1. Double die obverse. This occurs when the die, used to strike the image onto the coin, is engraved twice slightly off alignment. The result? You see a doubling effect on the date, the letters in Liberty, or in God We Trust. It's subtle at first, but once seen under magnification, it's unmistakable, and incredibly sought after by collectors. 2. Off-center strikes. If the penny was not perfectly aligned during striking, the entire design may appear shifted, leaving part of the coin blank. A 10 to 20% off-center coin with a visible date can bring in major attention. 3. Struck on a wrong planchet. This is one of the most exciting types of errors. Imagine a penny struck not on a copper planchet, but on a dime blank, or even a foreign coin blank. These wrong planchet errors are extremely rare, and when authenticated, can drive bidding wars at auctions. 4. Die breaks and cuts. These errors show as raised lumps or broken areas of metal, often giving the coin a unique look that no other coin has. Think of it like nature's fingerprint, except made by a broken die during the striking process. But rarity alone isn't enough. The second major factor is condition. The coin collecting world uses a grading scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a flawless, uncirculated coin. Coins rated MS65 or higher, especially those with a bright, original copper red tone, are very scarce. Combine that top-tier condition with a known mint error, and suddenly, you're holding something not just special, but extremely valuable. Now imagine finding a 1975 penny with a clear doubled die, preserved in mint state condition, untouched by human hands for nearly 5 decades. That's not just a collector's dream, that's an investor's dream. And that dream came true for one incredibly lucky person. This coin was discovered in an old inherited collection, long forgotten in a drawer. It wasn't polished. It wasn't tampered with. It was simply kept, quietly and safely, for years. When sent in for grading, the coin came back with a rare double die and a condition rating that placed it among the highest known examples from that year. Word of the discovery spread fast in numismatic circles. Auction houses scrambled for a chance to list it. The excitement was electric. Collectors knew they were looking at a coin that was not just a fluke of history, but a masterpiece of minting error. preserved like a time capsule. When the coin finally went to auction, it didn't take long for the bidding to skyrocket. Seasoned collectors, private investors, and even museums entered the fray. No one wanted to miss the opportunity to own such a rare piece of American currency. And finally, after a frenzy of competitive offers, the gavel fell. That 1-cent coin, just a penny, sold for an astonishing $135,000. That's right. A coin most people wouldn't bend over to pick up became worth more than a Tesla, more than a year of college, and more than most people's annual salary. So the next time you get change back from the store, take a second. Look closely. That 1975 penny sitting in your palm could be more than a memory. It could be a fortune. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you never miss another story from the world of rare coins. Drop a comment below if you've ever found an unusual penny. Who knows? Yours might be the next record breaker. And always remember, not all that glitters is gold. Sometimes it's copper, and it might just be worth $135,000. Top 4. How often do we overlook a penny, dropped on the sidewalk, left at the bottom of a purse, tossed in a jar by the door? 1 cent, nothing more, right? But what if I told you that one of those pennies, just one, tiny copper coin from the year 1976, could be worth more than your car, your savings account, or even your home? This is not just another old coin story. This is about a hidden treasure, a piece of overlooked American history that could still be sitting in someone's change jar, completely unnoticed. So stay with me, because today we're uncovering the truth behind the 1976 Lincoln 1-cent penny, and why this coin, under the right circumstances, has been known to fetch a mind-blowing 6-figure price. Let's travel back in time to the heart of America's bicentennial year. The year was 1976. It was a monumental moment in U.S. history. America was celebrating its 200th birthday. Flags flew high, parades marched across towns, and citizens across all 50 states felt the spirit of freedom in the air. Special bicentennial quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins were minted to commemorate the occasion. But the Lincoln penny? It stayed the same. No redesign. No special markings. Just Lincoln's quiet, enduring face on the obverse of the coin, unchanged, as if standing steady through America's centuries of transformation. Now, let's talk about this coin's design and history. On the front, or obverse, of the 1976 penny, you'll see President Abraham Lincoln, the same design by Victor David Brenner that was first introduced in 1909. The words "I in God we trust" curve across the top. Liberty sits on the left side, and the date, 1976, is to the right. Below the date, you may find a D or an S mint mark, representing Denver or San Francisco. No letter means it was struck in Philadelphia. On the reverse, you'll see the familiar Lincoln Memorial, introduced in 1959 to mark Lincoln's 150th birthday. If you look very closely, especially under magnification, you can actually see a tiny statue of Lincoln inside the memorial. It's one of the most fascinating and overlooked details on any U.S. coin. But here's what most people don't realize. While billions of these coins were minted, yes, literally billions, only a tiny fraction have become priceless. And the reason why is as much about mistakes as it is about perfection. That's right. In the world of coin collecting, it's not just about age. It's about error, rarity, and condition. Let's break those down. First, errors. Errors are the magic ingredient that can take a coin from face value to 5 or 6 figures overnight. In 1976, a few very rare errors occurred at U.S. Mint facilities, errors that were supposed to be caught, but weren't. One of the most famous is the double die obverse. This is when the coin's design is struck twice by the die, slightly off from the first strike, resulting in a doubling effect on parts of the design. On some 1976 pennies, this doubling is clearly visible in Liberty, Indiana God we trust, and even the date. It's not easy to find, but when it's real, collectors will pay a fortune. Another stunning error is the off-center strike, where the coin is not properly aligned during minting. Depending on how far off the strike is, and whether the date is still visible, These coins can sell for huge amounts. There are also die cracks, where a broken or damaged die leaves raised lines or blobs on the coin. And in some ultra-rare cases, there are wrong planchet errors, where a penny is struck on the wrong type of metal or even on a blank intended for a different denomination. Second, condition. This is huge. A coin with an error is great, but if it's in perfect shape, that's where the real money comes in. Coin grading goes from 1 to 70, and a coin graded MS 65, mint state 65, or higher is considered pristine. But only a few 1976 pennies with valuable errors have survived in this top-tier condition. Most have been circulated, scratched, worn down, or simply lost to time. But a perfect coin, a brilliant red 1976 penny with sharp detail and full luster, combined with a verified minting error? That's something truly rare. Now picture this: a coin dealer is going through a batch of old pennies that came from an estate sale. He notices one that looks different, sharper, cleaner. He flips it under a microscope and immediately spots it, doubling on the date and the words, "In God We Trust." It's a double die. Not just that, it's flawless. Almost untouched by human hands. He sends it for grading, and it comes back as mint state 67 red. Word spreads. Collectors start calling. The dealer decides to send it to auction, and when it finally goes on the block, the bids come in fast. 5,000. 10. 20. Then it jumps higher. This isn't just a penny anymore, it's a relic of minting history. A ghost coin. A 1 in a billion survivor of the bicentennial era. And when the final hammer falls, the price leaves everyone in the room stunned. That 1-cent piece sold for $130,000. That's right. A 1976 Lincoln penny, just one of billions minted, turned out to be worth $130,000 because of its error, its rarity, and its perfect condition. So the next time you see a penny lying on the ground, don't pass it by. The next time you dump a roll of change into a machine or trade coins at the bank, stop. Take a closer look. Because somewhere out there, another 1976 penny is still hiding. Waiting. Worth more than anyone would ever guess. And who knows? You might be the one to find it. Thanks for watching. If this story surprised you, or got you rushing to check your change jar, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more rare coin stories, and comment below if you've ever come across a strange or unusual penny. Your pocket change might just be your golden ticket. And remember, sometimes the smallest coins carry the biggest surprises. Top 5. There are some things in life we pass by without a second thought. A leaf in the wind, a crack on the sidewalk, or maybe, just maybe, a penny. But what if I told you that one of those tiny coins, especially a Lincoln 1-cent penny from 1981, could be worth far more than you ever imagined? Yes, we're talking about a coin that might be sitting in your pocket right now. A coin that could be worth more than an entire year's salary, a brand new car, or a dream vacation across the world. You see, this isn't just about copper. It's about mystery, history, and the hidden treasures that sometimes sneak their way into our lives completely unnoticed. Let's take a journey back to 1981, a year that marked the end of an era in U.S. coinage, and one that would go on to be incredibly significant in the eyes of collectors. The Lincoln cent had been in circulation since 1909, introduced to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, and it remained mostly unchanged for decades. The obverse of the coin still bore Victor David Brenner's iconic portrait of Lincoln, while the reverse displayed the stately Lincoln Memorial, a design added in 1959 to commemorate Lincoln's 150th birthday. But the year 1981 was special. It was the last full year the U.S. Mint used 95% copper to make these coins. That's right. Just a year later, in 1982, the Mint would switch to a new composition, mostly zinc, coated in copper, to cut production costs. This transition marked the end of the true copper penny era. As a result, collectors today look at the 1981 penny not just as another old coin, but as the final chapter of a legacy. But wait, there's more to the 1981 penny than just copper. That year, Lincoln cents were struck at 3 different U.S. mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, marked with AD, San Francisco, marked with an S. But here's the twist. The S-mint coins were proof coins, specially made for collectors. These proof coins were struck with polished dies and coin blanks, giving them a mirror-like finish and incredibly sharp details. But even among these high-quality coins, a few slipped through the cracks with incredible minting errors. And that's where the story starts to get really exciting. Let's talk about these rare and valuable errors, the key to unlocking hidden fortunes in your loose change. Point one of the most famous types is the double die obverse. This occurs when the coin design is struck twice, but not quite in the same spot. The result? A visible doubling of the letters and numbers on the front of the coin. In 1981, a small number of pennies, especially from the Philadelphia and San Francisco mints, were struck with this rare doubling, and they'd become grails for collectors. Under magnification, you can see the doubling clearly in the word liberty, the motto "I in God we trust," and even in the digits of the date. 1981. For those in the know, this tiny imperfection is actually a golden ticket. Then there are off-center strikes. If the penny wasn't lined up properly during minting, the design can appear skewed or missing on one side. If the date is still visible and the error is significant, this kind of mistake can drastically increase a penny's value. There are also coins struck on the wrong planchet. That means a 1981 penny could have been struck on a blank meant for a dime, or even a foreign coin. These rare planchet errors are so unusual that they draw massive attention at auctions. But error alone doesn't make a coin truly valuable. It's also about condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A coin in perfect, untouched mint state condition, especially MS67 or higher, is extremely rare. Add an error to that level of condition, and now you're in the upper atmosphere of value. Imagine a coin struck in 1981, with a bold double die on the obverse. No scratches. No discoloration. Bright copper-red luster, just like the day it left the mint. Then imagine it being professionally graded and authenticated by a top-tier service like PCGS or NGC. That coin doesn't just belong in a collector's folder. It belongs in a museum. And that's exactly what happened in one case that stunned the numismatic world. A collector, rummaging through an old roll of pennies that had been passed down from his grandfather, stumbled upon something that looked just a little off. The letters looked thicker. The date looked strange. He sent it in for grading. Weeks later, the results came back. 1981 double die obverse, mint state 67 red. A rare combination of error and condition. The kind of find most collectors spend their lives dreaming about. It was put up for auction. The bidding was fierce. Coin dealers, collectors, and investors all saw what it was. Not just a penny, but a once-in-a-generation piece of American minting history. The final bid, an incredible $95,000. Yes, you heard that right. $95,000 for a single penny. 1 cent turned into a life-changing sum, because someone took the time to look. So what can you learn from this? The world of coin collecting isn't just for museums or millionaires. It's for anyone with sharp eyes, a little curiosity, and a bit of patience. That handful of change on your desk, the coins in your car cup holder, or that jar in the back of your closet, could be hiding a treasure of your own. Thank you for watching. If this story inspired you to check your own coins, or if you've ever found something strange in your change, drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your story. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss another coin discovery that could change your life. Because in this world, even the smallest coin can carry the biggest surprise. And remember, some 1981 Lincoln pennies are now worth a stunning $95,000. Top 6. What if I told you that a coin you've walked past 100 times, maybe even flipped into a fountain for luck or let sit in a dusty jar at home, could actually be worth a small fortune? We're not talking about gold. Not silver. Not even a rare dollar coin. We're talking about a single, ordinary-looking Lincoln penny. More specifically, a 1993 Lincoln 1-cent coin. A coin that most people overlook completely. A coin that's still circulating in everyday pocket change right now, But hidden among those billions of copper-plated coins is one that collectors would do anything to find. So grab your old coin jar, because today, we're diving deep into one of the most underrated and surprisingly valuable coins in modern U.S. history, the 1993 Lincoln 1-cent penny. Now, at first glance, the 1993 penny might seem boring. Let's be honest. There's no shiny gold edge, no special artwork, no commemorative design. Just the same familiar face of Abraham Lincoln, staring to the right, unchanged since 1909. Same motto, "In God We Trust," above his head. Liberty to the left. And the date, 1993, tucked neatly on the right. But here's the thing about coins, and especially Lincoln pennies: the most valuable ones rarely look flashy. Instead, they carry stories, minting mysteries, hidden errors, and sometimes, nearly impossible to find conditions that transform a 1-cent coin into a priceless collector's item. Let's take a look at what makes the 1993 Lincoln penny so fascinating. First off, a little history. By 1993, the penny had already undergone major changes. The original 95% copper composition had been phased out in 1982. Starting mid-1982, the U.S. Mint began making pennies from zinc coated in copper, creating a coin that looked the same but felt lighter and had a completely different metal core. That means every 1993 penny you see is copper-plated zinc. But even within this newer generation of pennies, something unusual happened. More than 14 billion pennies were minted in 1993. Yes, billion, with a B. That means the idea of finding a rare one seems almost impossible, until you understand what collectors are actually looking for. And this is where the story gets really interesting. Hidden within those billions were a tiny handful of coins struck with extremely rare minting errors. Errors that turn everyday coins into museum-worthy pieces. And some of these errors are so rare, so coveted, that they've sold for tens of thousands of dollars at auctions. Let's talk about those errors, because this is the key to unlocking the value of a 1993 penny. The first is the doubled die obverse. Imagine the coin die, the tool used to strike the image on the penny, accidentally moves between strikes. The result is a visible doubling of the letters and numbers on the front of the coin. It's not something most people would spot unless they were looking closely. But once found, it's unmistakable and incredibly valuable. Look at "In God We Trust," Liberty, and the date for signs of doubling. Next up, off-center strikes. This happens when the coin isn't properly aligned during minting. Part of the design is missing, and there's a blank crescent on one side of the coin. The more off-center it is, while still showing the date, the more valuable it becomes. Another major error is the broad strike. This occurs when the coin is struck without the retaining collar that holds it in place. The result is a stretched, pancake-like penny with no defined rim. Then there's the holy grail of errors: wrong planchet strikes. Imagine a penny being accidentally struck on a blank meant for a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin. These are extremely rare and can easily fly under the radar, especially if the weight and look seem close enough to a normal penny. But if authenticated, these coins can go for staggering prices. Now let's talk condition, because error coins alone won't guarantee you a small fortune. Collectors use a grading scale from 1 to 70 to assess the condition of coins. A penny graded MS-65 or higher, meaning mint state, virtually perfect, is what serious collectors want. Combine that pristine condition with a rare error, and you've got a coin that jumps from pocket change to premium collectible. And that's exactly what happened in one incredible case that left the numismatic world buzzing. A coin dealer in the Midwest received a small batch of 1993 pennies from a seller who was clearing out an inherited coin collection. Nothing unusual at first, until he noticed something strange under magnification. The lettering looked doubled. The rim seemed slightly misaligned. He sent the coin in for grading. When it came back, the results were jaw-dropping. A 1993 Lincoln penny, doubled die obverse, in mint state 67 red condition. Nearly flawless. Ultra rare. One of the finest known examples from that year. The buzz started immediately. Collectors from around the country wanted it. Bidding wars broke out at private auctions. Some believed it would set a new price record for modern-era pennies. And when the final hammer dropped, the price paid for that 1-cent coin stunned everyone in the room. That single 1993 Lincoln penny sold for $65,000. Yes, $65,000. For a coin you might not even glance at twice. So the next time you get change back from the store, or you're sorting through coins in your drawer, stop and take a closer look. The 1993 Lincoln penny might not seem like much at first, but hidden among those everyday coins could be a treasure that could change your life. Thanks for watching, and if this video opened your eyes to the amazing world of rare coins, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Let us know in the comments, have you ever found a strange-looking coin in your change? Your story could be our next video. And remember, in the world of coins, it's not always about what you see, it's about what you notice. Because sometimes, 1 cent can be worth $65,000. Top 7. What if I told you that a simple, small, copper coin from the early 1960s could be worth more than a luxury car, more than a college education, maybe even more than your house? Yes, you heard that right. Today, we're talking about a coin that millions of Americans handled without a second thought, a coin that passed through pockets, purses, and piggy banks, and yet a rare few of them hold a secret. I'm talking about the 1963 Lincoln 1-cent penny, an ordinary-looking piece of American change that could turn out to be extraordinary. So grab your old coin jar, dust off those old rolls of pennies, and get ready. Because you may be sitting on something incredibly rare, something with a story and value far beyond what you'd ever expect from a 1-cent coin. Let's rewind time. The year is 1963. John F. Kennedy is president. The civil rights movement is in full swing. Gas costs just 30 cents per gallon, and a brand new car might set you back $3,000. But behind the scenes, at the United States Mint, something routine was happening, something that, decades later, would drive collectors wild. Billions of Lincoln pennies were being struck, each one bearing the familiar image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this portrait had become an American icon since its debut in 1909. On the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial, which replaced the original wheat ears design in 1959 to commemorate Lincoln's 150th birthday. That reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, is known for one fascinating detail. If you look closely, you can actually see Lincoln sitting inside the memorial. A tiny statue, barely visible, but an amazing piece of engraving. Now, here's where the story gets really interesting. At first glance, the 1963 penny doesn't seem unusual. Over 2.3 billion of them were minted in Philadelphia, with no mint mark, and another 1.7 billion in Denver, with a D mint mark. That's nearly 4 billion coins. But hidden within those billions are rare coins that defy the odds. Coins that were born with mistakes. Coins that never should have made it into circulation. Coins that collectors are now desperate to find out. Let's talk about the secret behind their value: minting errors. While most 1963 pennies are worth 1 cent, even today, some were struck with errors so rare that they can fetch life-changing money. One of the most famous and sought after is the doubled die obverse. This happens when the coin is struck by a die that shifts between strikes, resulting in visible doubling on the date, the word liberty, and in God we trust. These aren't tiny errors. You can see the doubling with the naked eye or under basic magnification. In the coin collecting world, this kind of flaw doesn't lower the value, it skyrockets it. Then there are the off-center strikes. This is when the blank coin planchet isn't properly aligned during minting. The result? A crescent-shaped blank space on the coin, with the design shifted to one side. These errors are unusual and very collectible, especially when the date is still fully visible. But one of the rarest and most exciting errors for the 1963 penny? The wrong planchet strike. Imagine a Lincoln penny being accidentally struck on a blank meant for a dime, foreign coin, or other denomination. That changes everything. A coin that looks slightly thinner, lighter, or smaller could actually be one of the rarest errors ever made. Collectors around the world hunt these down. They dig through rolls of pennies from banks. They check old inherited collections. And the most serious among them send their finds to professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC, hoping for the ultimate jackpot, a high-grade, rare error penny from 1963. Now, condition is everything. It's not enough to find a rare error. If your coin is scratched, dirty, or heavily worn, the value drops significantly. But if you find one in uncirculated condition, known as mint state, especially graded MS65 red or higher, you're now talking about a top-tier collectible. Red pennies, meaning they retain their original bright copper luster, are far more desirable than brown, or red-brown, toned coins. Combine that brightness with a rare error and high-grade preservation, and now you've got something truly exceptional. And believe it or not, this exact situation has already happened. A coin collector, browsing through an old shoebox of coins from his grandfather's attic, came across a 1963 penny that looked slightly strange. The letters seemed a bit thicker. The design looked slightly off. Trusting his instinct, he sent the coin in for grading and authentication. When the results came back, the coin was confirmed as a 1963 double-die obverse, in stunning mint state 66 red condition. The coin went up for auction. The bidding was intense. Collectors, dealers, and investors all jumped into the race. Everyone knew how rare it was, fewer than a handful known in that condition. And when the final hammer fell, the room went silent. The winning bid, $178,000. Yes, a 1-cent coin, made in 1963, sold for $178,000 because of its condition, rarity, and undeniable uniqueness. And here's the wild part: there could be more of them out there. Still sitting in jars, drawers, or boxes. Still waiting to be discovered. So, don't throw away your change. Don't overlook the humble penny. Because every once in a while, a coin that looks just like the rest isn't. Thank you for watching. If you learned something new or this inspired you to check your own coins, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe for more amazing coin stories, and let us know in the comments, have you ever found something strange or valuable in your pocket change? And remember, sometimes, the tiniest piece of copper can carry the weight of history, and a price tag of $178,000.